Is it disrespect or an insult to freedom fighters or to India's soldiers if you don't say Bharat Mata Ki Jai? Because that's the defense Mr. Fadnavis is putting up.
Not at all. I do not think Bhagat Singh ever said Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
There is another defense that Mr. Fadnavis has put up, and I'm going to quote him. He says in his statement, and this is Sunday's statement, he says he made a 50-minute speech, of which 45 minutes were devoted to Maharashtra's drought and development. He says he spent just 5 minutes on Bharat Mata Ki Jai, but the media, he claims, only picked that up. And his conclusion, I'm quoting him, is a section of the media is interested in creating controversy. Do you agree with Mr. Fadnavis, or was the media correct in focusing on the controversial and the potentially incendiary and ignoring the rest?
Karan, on a white kurta, if there is a tiny spot of blank ink, it is that black spot of ink that is going to be noticed, that is not the whiteness of the kurta. So this business saying that I spoke for 45 minutes on development, on drought, on water shortages, and the media has just picked up on this one sentence, I think is something either that Mr. Fadnavis really doesn't know how the media function. And secondly, this targeted criticism of the media is a classic of what we expect to believe from many politicians, namely, you don't like the message, so you shoot the messenger. And this is what seems to have happened in the case of Mr. Fadnavis.
Very beautifully put, Dilip Pradhankar. If there's a kanker in the dal and that comes into the mouthful you have, it's the kanker you'll remember, not the beautiful taste of the rest of the dal. Very beautifully put. Abhishek Singhvi, in March, Rahul Gandhi, your Vice President, strongly castigated Mr. Modi on the floor of the Lok Sabha for dividing individuals and communities in the name of the flag. But when his own MLAs in Maharashtra were complicit in keeping silent when a motion to suspend Varis Pathan was passed, Mr. Gandhi had nothing to say. Sonia Gandhi had nothing to say. Yet the Maharashtra MLAs had contradicted the stand he'd taken. But in that contradiction, he found no reason to speak up. Why does Mr. Gandhi, why does Sonia Gandhi lack the courage to stand up and forthrightly say every Indian has a right to refuse to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai?
Firstly, I find it amusing and frankly completely wrong that they are reducing the entire Congress stand repeatedly to the Varis Pathan episode. That is completely wrong. It misses the larger picture of what the BJP is doing and what the Congress stand is. Secondly, when the AICC, and I've repeated many times, has taken very clearly in writing and orally more than 3 times the stand of the Congress, I fail to understand the relevance or significance of the Congress President or the Congress Vice President not repeating.
Because they are the President and the Vice President. They count for more than anyone else. Their silence is deafening and worrying.
I don't think that on every issue, especially an issue which is raised, propounded and deliberately divisive by the BJP and which the Congress has completely condemned from the podium, you can fault the party because the President and the Vice President haven't repeated it in those terms. But their stand is clear.
This is not any issue.
This is not
every issue. This is a critical issue that could be potentially incendiary, that is dividing the country, on which the media is exercising particular focus and attention, and the Gandhis have ducked it. I'm using that word advisedly. The Gandhis have ducked it.
All that you have proved, Karan, is that the Gandhis are at fault because they don't follow the methodology of declaring the Congress stand which you choose to think the ideal method. I don't think anybody has any doubt about the Congress stand, and that's hardly an answer to the huge divisiveness from the Sakshi Maharajas to the others on this issue. Every day we hear from the Baba Ramdev. I think that is the real substantive issue, not the Varis Pathan episode or somebody not speaking it.
The Varis Pathan is absolutely substantive because it's the episode on which the Gandhis were to be tested and they failed that test. They ducked the test.
Which has been
I'm going to take a break
at
that point, gentlemen.
Which has been
when I come back,
ICC.
I'm going to ask a slightly different question. How does my panel respond and react to the right? And I use that word advisedly and deliberately, the right of those Muslims who choose not to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, not to say. It is a constitutional right, because remember, not only does our constitution give us freedom of expression, it also gives us the freedom to be silent. That's the subject in part 2. See you in a moment after the break. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point, and we are discussing Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis's comments on Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Ashish Nandi, let's come to the objections some Muslims have in saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai. They see that slogan as deification of the country, a point corroborated by the fact that RSS illustrations show a goddess astride a lion waving the saffron flag. How do you view this religious hesitation of some Muslims to embrace Bharat Mata Ki Jai?
I think it is understandable. In any case, if you try to force adult human beings to say something, they won't say it. That's human nature. And even if somebody like Ramdev threatens them with decapitation, I think the whole thing begins with politics. That this is a way of mobilizing support, because other ways of mobilizing support and dividing people have not paid an adequate dividends in recent past. So this is the new way of mobilizing some more middle class support.
But your point is
that is the reason Congress also is not opposing it in Maharashtra Assembly. They think they might be at the receiving end in the electoral battle.
But the important point, Mr. Nandi, is that you believe that the hesitation that some Muslims have is understandable. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Because
at that time they were not particular. They were quite willing to say it. But as I think Varis Pathan said, and obviously said, that they don't want to be forced to say it.
Dilip Padgankar, Muslims like Varis Pathan have said that they would be happy and proud to say Jai Hind, Sare Jahan Se Hacha, Hindustan Hamara, or Inqilab Zindabad. Are these, in your eyes, acceptable alternatives to Bharat Mata Ki Jai, or does Bharat Mata Ki Jai have a special position which requires special allegiance?
I have absolutely no problem with either of these four slogans. I am for each one of them. The only proviso is don't impose any one of them on anyone. This is point number one. Karan, but let me quickly tell you what my great worry is. My worry is that obviously I found the anti-national slogans raised in JNU to be condemnable. I condemn them. At the same time, when I see that in the past 20 months, there has been this rising rhetoric from Ramzada, Haramzada, Ghar Wapasi, Love Jihad, down to today, when you're speaking about tricolor, saffron color, national anthem, official anthem, and so on and so forth. I travel around the country, Karan, and let me tell you, I fear for this country's internal security, because this kind of communal rhetoric is alienating a huge section of our citizenry, and that is what I find worrisome. The fact that some people have chanted anti-national slogans, please, for God's sake, get hold of them, put them up in a court of law, send them to jail, but please look at the internal security. I am deeply, deeply worried about this growing daily rhetoric which says, if you don't do this, if you eat this, etc., this is the test of your nationalism, of your patriotism. I find that extremely disturbing.
So then you agree with the premise of the question I put to Mr. Narasimha Rao in part 1, that the BJP is playing with fire and this fire could threaten the country?
Well, I think there is, a sinister ring to the whole thing, Karan, which is truly bothering me. And I say quite honestly, I look at things from as cool a perspective as possible. Worrying is the threats to internal security. And I believe this rhetoric that's been going on louder and louder, sharper and sharper, more and more heated, constitutes truly a threat to national security.
Ratan Sharda, the logical corollary of the Sangh Charlek's position enunciated in Lucknow on the 25th of March, when he said, and I'm quoting him once again, we don't want to impose our ideology and thoughts on anyone. The logical corollary of that position is that he has no problem with Muslims who refuse to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. He may not like it, but he accepts their right not to say it, and he won't force them. Is that a correct reading of the Sangh Charlek's position?
So far, yes.
Thank you very much, sir. It therefore follows that the Sangh Charlek wouldn't go around saying, if you don't say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, you don't have a right to live in this country. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, he never said it. All his life, nobody in RSS has said this.
In which case, and I applaud you for confirming what I'm saying, I want to ask you one further question. What would be the Sanksad Chalak's view of the statement made by Mr. Fadnis? Would he approve of what Mr. Fadnis said, or would he say that was a mistake and error?
I already said that Mr. Fadnis works in a political field. He has made such statements as a political leader, and we have no reason to call him and pull him up for whatever he said. He is a leader in his own right. Whatever Mr. Bhagwat has to say, he will say, maybe, probably. But let me also say that this question of Muslims not being allowed to worship motherland, I raised the question earlier also. Bangladesh, an Islamic state, has a national anthem which has got a para which is dedicated to motherland. So how are you saying that Muslims cannot say this? This unnecessary bowing down to extreme elements in Islam was done earlier since Khilafat.
Sir,
we paid a heavy price ending up with orthodoxy on our side and going against modern Muslims.
There is a difference to referring to your country as the motherland or the fatherland. The Germans choose to see that as the fatherland. And yes, Bharat Mata, because Bharat Mata connotes a deity, which is more than just motherland. It's the deification of the motherland that becomes a problem.
I don't agree. Mother is mother. There is no God in that. Do you say your mother is a God? Are you saying that if you say somebody Mata, so is a gender bias in Islam inherent, which these mullahs are saying?
Perhaps,
that if you call somebody
Mr. Sharda,
father, it's fine. You call somebody mother, it becomes a gender bias.
To the Muslim community, but the important
supporting this. Why should I ask?
The important point.
Will you please ask?
No, Mr. Sharda. The important point you made, and I want to stick to that, is that the Sanksad Chalak would never say that if you don't say Bharat Mata ki Jai, you have no right to live in this country. That is the important point I want to hold on to, because I think it is a political point. And I'm now going to Mr. Narasimha Rao. Mr. Sharda, permit me, I need to go to Mr. Narasimha Rao. Mr. Narasimha Rao, in 1986, in the Supreme Court, in what's called the Jehovah's Witnesses case, the Supreme Court ruled that provided you stand up, there is no disrespect to the national anthem or the constitution or the nation if you refuse to sing the national anthem. And the national anthem, by the way, is far more sacrosanct than Bharat Mata Ki Jai. So, if you can refuse to sing Jana Gana Mana, the Supreme Court would have no problem with any Indian refusing to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. So Mr. Fadnis's position is also in conflict with the Supreme Court's.
I think we are not, Karan, we are not talking about the legal or constitutional position. I have stated upfront and repeated it many times. I think the constitution, like Owaisi said, does not impose on anyone to say it. But it does not give you the right to object or to prevent people from saying it. It is Bharat Mata Ki Jai, it's not Bharat Devi Ki Jai. There is no religion involved in this. And if there is a sinister plan in this country, it is to really give a bad name to India all over the world, talking about India being intolerant. I fear some problems from that kind of elements that Mr. Dilip Padgaonkar referred to. It is these elements which are creating a bad image of India, which are a threat to this country, not those who are actually telling people to be patriotic, not to stand by people who are raising anti-national slogans in JNU in the garb of freedom of speech.
But for the fact that in the Waris Pathan case, he was forced to say it and suspended for not doing so. He's not like the Deoband seminary, which is advising Muslims, at their request, by the way. It's not suo voto, it's at their request, that in the eyes of the seminary, it is a breach of Islamic principles to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. That's a different issue. In Waris Pathan's case, your MLAs and Shiv Sena MLAs forced him to say it. When he refused, they suspended him. So yes, it is about forcing people. Waris Pathan was forced.
No, we stated this repeatedly, Karan. But anyone who is deliberately provoking people, saying, I do not want to chant this mantra.
The BJP and Shiv Sena were deliberately provoking Waris Pathan. The provocation came from BJP and Shiv Sena MLAs who insisted he say something he didn't want to say.
I think you're wrong.
The provocation was from them, not Waris Pathan.
You're clearly wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm right.
MIM leadership.
Forgive me. I'm right. You've got your facts wrong,
No, it was MIM people who were repeatedly saying that I will not do it. I think please understand the distinction. Nobody is forcing anyone to chant this
I want to
every
say
day.
something to you, Mr. Narasimha Rao.
I think
As an
there
Indian
is no
citizen, I have
legal-
a right to say I will not say it. I may choose to say it, I may want to say it, I often do say it, but I have a right to say I won't say it. And you do not have any authority to
But I
force
have a
me
right. I have an equal right.
to say
I
it,
have an equal
but not
right to
force
say
me
that
to
you are
say
in
it.
the wrong.
You have a right
I do
to
not agree with you. I think you are
Absolutely.
unpatriotic.
But
I will say that.
But Mr. Fadnavis went one step further.
How
He
can you-
said
how
that
can
I
you
don't
take
have a
it
right
as
to
my
live in
freedom
this
of
country
speech?
if I don't say it. And I say to you,
Karan,
he's
may I
wrong
add something?
constitutionally, morally, ethically, and in every other way. But let's not make this a quarrel between you and me. You're smiling, sir, and I like that smile very much. I'd like it to stay there for as long as I can. Abhishek Singhvi, I want to pick up with you a point made by Professor Nandi, because many believe he actually got to the core of the issue as far as Congress is concerned. Your party is apprehensive that on this issue of Bharat Mata Ki Jai, the BJP may have struck an emotional chord with the Indian people, which is why Sonia and Rahul keep quiet and are deafeningly silent, which is why your MLAs in Maharashtra, whether they were reflecting the party position or not is irrelevant, in one fell swoop sided with the BJP in Shiv Sena. You've sensed that on this issue, whatever your principles may be, the emotional chord struck with the Indian people will work against you politically. That's what's keeping you quiet.
Well, firstly, Karan, I admire your persistence in reducing, as far as the Congress is concerned, this 45 minutes debate into a single issue question. You repeated it 3 times. Secondly, I deny completely what you are saying, because if you have till now, whether from Shashi Tharoor or from me or from the various briefings, not got the idea that the Congress is openly condemning it, then what politics and what votes are we seeking? Then I should not have been giving these answers all this while on the podium, because that would be attributed to the Congress. In that case, let me ask you, why would the Congress take this stand? You are in this whole process not allowing the main opposition party in the country to say that actually it's a much larger issue. For me, it would be equally bad if you kept on repeating the insistence to say Bharat Mata, even in the Mohan Bhagwat sense, without even saying that you must get out of the country if you don't say it. Because I believe that it's a fake debate. Why should we be wasting so much energy, time in constantly trying to wear our patriotism on our sleeve by only saying Bharat Mata? It's a very fictitious difference that Mohan Bhagwat doesn't say get out and Fadnavis says get out.
No,
the point is debate is a fake debate because it is raised to divide the country,
it's not a fictitious
to make you
difference.
conscious.
You're
And
forcing me to actually clarify and look at this. I'm speaking in defense of Mr. Bhagwat, but it's important as an anchor. I do that because what Mr. Bhagwat said is critically important. He says, we do not want to impose our ideology and thoughts on people. That's not a fictitious difference. That's a real difference. By the way, that, by the way, would have been words that Rahul Gandhi could have spoken with pride if Rahul had the conviction to speak them. He kept quiet. Mr. Bhagwat said it nonetheless. I'll end with Mr. Sharda because I saw your finger going up.
Go again, your
I
favorite
saw your
theme.
finger going up, Mr. Sharda. Just one thing. On this issue, until Mr. Bhagwat clarified his position, and until you further clarified it this evening, many people have misunderstood the RSS Sangchak Chalak. Why can't the RSS Sangchak Chalak just one more time clarify? I'd like people to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai, but they have a right to refuse, and I'll accept that. I will never force anyone to say it. Why can't he say it just one time clearly? Because the BJP would learn an important lesson to hear they're meant to say it, and maybe then these crazies and loonies in the BJP would not make these silly mistakes.
See, before I say what Mr. Bhagwat said, may I ask whether what is the Singhvi stand on Rahul Gandhi going and standing with the anti-nationals in GNU, or he is going to deny that?
Sir, we're running out of time. If you deflect by talking about Rahul Gandhi, the time I have left for you will disappear. This is your chance to answer.
He will say when he wants to say. See, he will say when he wants to say. He doesn't make many statements. He made a few statements, none of which is negative. So he carry on with that.
All right.
Why should keep on clarifying?
In which case, let me end by saying, let's hope the time comes very soon when Mr. Bhagwat says what he wants to say, because I, for one, am itching for him to say what you clarified on his behalf, and his saying it would be an important message to the BJP, because it would then stop people in the BJP making hot-headed and indiscreet comments, and India needs Mr. Bhagwat to rein them in. My thanks to all my guests for joining me, and my thanks to you who've been watching. Goodbye, good night.